So go ahead and introduce the topic for tonight. I'm gonna be honest, I'm on 50%, so I don't know how long we got. So you go ahead.
All right, so we just gonna go. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Stefan. My YouTube channel is called Reckless Logic. We're gonna be having a conversation tonight. The conversation is gonna be about Lil Mama and her live. I don't know, was it an interview or they were just having like a live or whatever. And basically saying a lot of things. Basically it was dealing with transgenders, LGBT, and they had a couple of I want to say ideologies, ideas, and perspectives. What I thought was me and Consciouztv thought were very worthy to talk about. So I'm gonna talk about exactly what happened, and then want to get straight into the commentary. So basically, what happened, like I said before, they were on live. They were having, like, I would think, an innocent conversation, honestly. But the thing is that they were saying kind of triggering stuff, brought up, when it comes down to LGBT, quote unquote, depopulation of the community, basically saying how they have to be careful about the influence on children, and also brought up pedophilia into the conversation. So, question, what did you feel about the video exactly, Conscious?
I feel like it was a great attempt by two ignorant, biased, agenda-driven, blind, dumb as a badass, cis hetero folk. It was really cute for them. Sounds convincing, right? But the conversation lacked total context, total nuance. I love cis hetero folk, but I never trust them to have these conversations pertaining to our community because they literally do not know what the fuck they're talking about, and they're so overwhelmed and consumed by fear, which is always the underbelly of their ignorance and why they're quick to find everything wrong. And I just want to be clear here, like, literally, we'll get into it. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Now, good thing you said that, because now I want to make a little disclaimer. For me personally, I can't speak for Conscious, all right? I want to say that I understood both sides, as in, of course, the way that me and Conscious feel. Obviously, I understand that side. And I also understand what they were trying to say. I just feel like they just couldn't articulate it.
Can you explain to me what they were trying to say?
I felt like, now this is my interpretation. I felt like they weren't trying to say the whole thing of gays are this, trans are this. I felt like they were trying to say that we have to be careful what we put out there, only because we don't want children to think that they feel like a girl or feel like a boy just because they've seen it, quote unquote. Even though that is very problematic. I hate this word because people use it all the time. Problematic, aka I'm gonna substitute it, a big issue. And people have to realize what they're saying and be accountable for it. Now, honestly, I don't think in my core the intention was to be transphobic or anything like that. I didn't get that intent, me personally. But I could be just saying it because it didn't directly affect me because I'm not trans. So I don't think Lil Mama
know that they were talking about the gays.
Yeah. I know that, but I didn't. Honestly, I didn't feel. I don't know. I just didn't feel really hit like that. But I just felt like they was trying to have.
Anytime it's any of our people, I feel hit because because whatever they mean for trans, they really mean for all of us.
All of us, yes. So, but the thing is that I felt like they, for one, they should have trans person on there, a knowledgeable trans person, so they can really get a real balanced conversation. And also, I feel like I'm gonna leave that for later. And and also with the disclaimer is that I'm not gonna be attacking them exactly. I'm gonna be just about talking about what they said. And now, Conscious, on the other hand, he may throw in some reads and some roast and some shade. I'm gonna try to keep it professional. I'm gonna try. Just sometimes Conscious rings me in. All right, so let's just get ready.
Okay,
you take the floor.
Oh, I take the floor?
Yeah, you better at this than I am. Come on, baby.
Look, this conversation gave me 2.5 pages worth of notes.
Okay. All right, let's go.
So okay, so I can just read off, and then if you have like thoughts you want to fill in, then you just add to that.
Yes.
Whatever. Okay. So the guy I found to be very interesting when he talked about America being over sexualized.
Ooh.
And he talked about why is it anybody's business who you sleep with? See, this is one of the misconceptions that heterosexual people make about coming out. It's interesting how heterosexual people always sexualize us, and therefore everything becomes about sex, what we do in the bedroom, who we doing in the bedroom. If I acknowledge and identify as a queer person, what should come to mind is who I love. Sex is just a byproduct of who I'm romantically attracted to, but that's not what we're communicating when we come out of the closet. And let's be honest, the only reason queer people have to come out of the closet is because of all of the anti-queer institutions, ideologies that you guys have put up to be
the Bible
when it comes to sexuality, orientation, gender identity. So the proclamation is made because we as queer people have to participate in dialogue with you guys. We have to eventually come to the point of conversation where I have to talk about my personal relationship, things I've been through romantically. I'm going to have to identify those people who I interact with sexually and romantically as same-sex fucking attracted. So how is it possible to avoid having to ultimately come out? Straight folk come out every fucking day when you're holding hands down the street, when you and the cute little baby in the carriage is coming on down the road, when you guys are posting your fucking wedding day pictures on your anniversary, when you're inviting everybody to the anniversary celebration. I find it, once again, it's the hypocrisy for me, how everything we do becomes the context of look at what's being forced on us, look at what's being shoved down our throats. Why does anybody have to know? Why the fuck does anybody need to know who the fuck your wife or your husband is? Why the fuck you need to post all of these goddamn pictures and videos of your love and y'all romance and Valentine's Day bullshit? Because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I wouldn't have no fucking problem with them complaining about a badge of honor being who we love and who we fuck if they also walk the same tightrope. But heterosexuals don't. Fucking don't.
And that's the thing. They don't. And that's the thing. And that's the reason why I feel like you need other gays or trans people when you're having this conversation, because that's a perspective that they don't ever bring up. They don't understand it. And honestly, they probably wouldn't understand it because they don't live the life. That's the whole thing about it. So in terms of the guy, one thing in agreement to also what you said, because I have it in my notes, so I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to say is that when he asked the question, the initial question, when he said that he posted a post on Twitter, and he basically said that how is it that a child how a child is not legal enough to gamble, they're not legal enough to rent a car, they're not legal enough to, I want to make sure I'm not messing this up, they're not legal enough to where you at?
Get it right.
To gamble, rent a car. They're not legal enough to do other things. But however, it's legal enough for them to change their gender or sex. And the thing is that gets me when people make that comment. For one, and I'm assuming, now this is what I'm going to talk about, an assumption. This is an assumption that I am making right now. This is not a fact. Because typically, when this conversation come up, they're typically talking about Zaya Wade, Zaya Wade, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Right.
Zaya Wade. So the thing with them is that no one ever said anything about a sex change. They jumped to that conclusion. This also feeds your point of they sexualize everything, especially when it comes to trans individuals. All they said is they're gonna let the child express themselves the way they see fit. But then everybody went to, they're gonna do this with your genitals. Boosie over here talking about sex reassignment surgery. People over here talking about sex reassignment surgery when that was never brought up in the conversation. And another thing too is that for sex reassignment surgery, you have to be 18 years old. So everything they said was invalid. And plus, you need like a year or I believe it's 6 months, a year to a year of therapy, like going to a psychiatrist or something. Make sure this is something that you want to actually go through with. So I just felt like it was real ignorant, and I hate to use trigger words, but I felt like it was very ignorant of them to actually, say those certain things and jump to that conclusion, honestly.
Yeah, I want to be super clear about gender reassignment surgery. If you go to the Aetna.com website, it lists all of the literal criteria for breast augmentation, gender reassignment surgery for trans women, trans mans. Yes, you can only get reassignment surgery at the age of 18. You already have to be in a year's worth of counseling prior to reassignment surgery. You also have to already have assimilated and been living and dressing and presenting yourself as the gender that you identify with for a year. And you also are required to be in therapy after gender reassignment surgery, and you already have to also be on hormone treatment for a year prior to gender reassignment surgery. So once again, yeah, the conversations around Zaya getting that surgery is, first of all, none of our goddamn business, and second of all, yeah, it wouldn't even be possible.
Yeah, so like this whole thing about, I just don't like the way the question was set up. Honestly, I feel like the question was set up, even though I keep saying that I don't think, and I'm really just trying to give them like some a little bit of doubt. I don't, because I really don't think that they were meaning to be. I don't know. Okay. Dang, I just
it's me.
It fails.
Huh?
It failed.
You said what?
I said your phone failed.
Somebody called me like a dumbass.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say at first I thought I was freezing because my phone has a. No, but I just really felt like it was I'm not gonna talk too much on him because he's like a little questionable. I would say on Lil Mama's behalf. I think it was just a poor attempt at trying to hold that particular conversation without always having the proper knowledge. In my
look, I think you are I think you're giving them something that they clearly do not deserve. Like in the undertone and underbelly of all of their shit is fear mongering, marginalizing, and othering. You don't have the motherfucking authority to tell trans people or queer people that their truth is inauthentic because you want to wangle some weird ass conspiracy, some weird ass Bill Gates, Illuminati ass depopulation,
I hate when they say that
theory together, okay? And because let's also look, let's get completely into it.
I was trying to look for both sides. Yeah, I was trying, but fuck it, I agree with you.
I'm gonna get there.
I'm
gonna go to my next notes. When guys, like when old boy talked about the pedophilia thing, I hate that. I literally did a whole video about this, and I want to say this again. There was never a such thing as the LGBT headquarters trying to add the P to the acronym. That whole thing was started by an internet troll who posted a post from a satire website that all they do is specialize in fake news. They specialize in shock news. That's how they generate views. They literally have at the bottom satire. And some idiot reposted this article, this fake ass article. And ever since, the urban legend that the LGBT community has tried to somehow include the P has lived on. It was never real. There's literally no data, no facts, nothing objective, nothing credible behind the urban legend. So miss me with the pedo shit.
Let me say something real quick while we're on the pedo thing. Now, because I was trying to look for both sides. But let me talk about shit real quick. It really irks my nerve when every time we talk about trans or LGBT issues, problems, have those particular conversations, pedophilia always seems to be in correlation with us every single time. And even even growing up, I've noticed that certain situations that I've been through, they actually like had this idea of me messing with children. Case in point, I was a little boy or whatever, and we was all at the park playing around, and it was like this girl. She was like an older girl, and it was her little brother. Me and the little brother, we were cool. We always played. And it's like the whole thing of I had an idea I was gay, but I just never said nothing. I was like in the closet peeking or whatever. So what happened was I was a little older than the brother. He was younger than me. The girl, she was older than me. So what happened was we was playing around, and we were playing like hide and go seek, and we were under like the slide or whatever, me and the boy. And she like, I guess she saw us under there. She grabbed it. She was like, what's going on over here? What's going on over here? And she, okay, did someone keep calling you?
Everybody call me on Instagram.
It happens all the time because it happens to me too. But I was gonna say, like, the thing is that me not being fully aware of how the correlation that people try to correlate LGBT to pedophilia, not realizing that she just called me a pedophile because everybody thinks that I'm gay. And that once I kind of came to grips with that as I got older and I realized it, that kind of bothered me. And the thing that I don't like as well is that I cannot refute the fact or the matter of that, yes, we probably do, or no, yes, we do have gay pedophiles.
We're not.
Yes, but however, we have straight pedophiles as well. Don't try to put that on the gay community. That's not a gay issue. That's a people's issue. And I don't like that. It's so funny that they love the gay community. What about the kids? Trans people in the restroom. What about the kids? Just because a motherfucker want to quote unquote transition, or people like to say want to transition, which dilutes and completely refutes the whole experience of trans people. But just because someone is transitioning doesn't mean they want to sleep with your children.
Sometimes, like, I just believe that straight people know these things, and like I know that they know, and I know deep down that they know what the fuck they be doing. I know that they be knowing that. Ask all of these women how many of them have been molested and or raped by their uncle, or by their brother, or by their stepfather, or by the hundreds of men who their mother had come living all up and through the house. Ask these boys about them being molested by their mother, by their aunts,
yes,
by female family friends. Like, straight folk know what they doing. They really know.
Yeah, it's the same thing like you said, that fear. They try to harp on this thing of fear. It's nothing to fear. And the thing I also found interesting in the video is that he said that, with him talking about pedophilia and stuff, he was so quick to make it clear, which I like, is that even though they quote unquote allegedly they're trying to add the P to the LGBT, but let's be very clear, the LGBT, most of them don't get down like that. And then he also said, but you guys don't speak out. My thing is, if you know we don't get down like that, how would you know that if we don't speak out? If we're not speaking out, how do you know we don't get down like that? That contradicts itself. Obviously, we're speaking out, but here's the thing too: if you're not constantly holding these conversations with LGBT folk, how would you know we're having those conversations? You literally had a panel talking about this conversation about pedophilia.
I did.
But then, and I have this conversation all the time, not actually on live or whatever, but every day of my life. And the thing is that, you guys don't have these conversations. How would you know? You're not in the room with us.
Can we just have a moment of silence for the diamonds that are like cascading and like giving lightning strike tees? Like, can we just have a moment of silence for real diamonds in the ear? Can we?
You get on my nerve.
Is that why they mad?
I can't even have my diamonds on now.
But yes, you're right. Straight people just suck. Okay, they just suck sometimes.
Not all, but
I also wanted to talk about this whole choosing to be gay. You know, if you turn 18 and you choose to be gay and you choose to be lesbian, I ain't got no
Yeah.
problem with that. If you choose to be trans when you grown and you 18, and I'm like, see, this is what I always say on my platform, that there's this there's still this like antiquated ass archaic belief that queerness is like contagious, or you can be like influenced to be gay, and you know, and it's so weird because straight people think the rules don't apply to them, or they think the rules don't apply to us. Like, if you identify as straight and you've had a gay uncle or a gay sibling, or you've seen gay people and it didn't make you gay, then how the hell is that going to make anybody else gay? And why are any of us straight? Because we see obviously more straight presenting content, more straight presenting relationships. All of us obviously given birth to by majority heterosexual folk, had binary parents in the household. Like, so what? I don't really get it. I don't really get it. But he also said something about gender identity, like that kids should be kids. This is what I find funny.
Shut the fuck. You good?
This is what I find to be funny. Let the kids be the kids. They should not have genderism on their mind. Well, they wouldn't if genderism was actual choice and not a phenomenon and not a nature. Okay, so, and then the biggest hypocrisy is this. And let me refer to my notes for this. You want to tell trans children to stay children until they're grown and not worry about gender identity politics. But from the time that cis men and women come into the world, those gender politics begin immediately, such as the baby boy is wearing blue and the baby girl is wearing pink. Okay, dressing the child according to their sex. Okay, pants are for boys, dresses are for girls. Okay?
Barbie dolls, G.I. Joes,
Tonka trucks for boys, Barbie dolls for girls, long hair and borettes for the girls, braids and low cuts for the boys. So what you're really telling me is that as long as the child is assumed to be cisgendered, they can start participating in gender identity politics right out of the gate by way of clothes, toys, etc. But if they are a trans child, they should not be worried. They should stay in a child's place. And that's wait till they're 18 to start dealing in the areas of gender, which literally began like the moment we enter into this plane of existence. But go ahead.
And you hit. I love that you said it because it kills me. Because here's how I feel about it. It's like now they want the kids to be kids and don't quote unquote let the kids know about sex and sexuality, gender, quote unquote. But you only saying that because now LGBT and trans people actually have a voice. But the thing is that they're confusing our voice for we want everybody to be gay or we want everybody to be trans. No, we are talking to those individuals, those gay children or trans children that don't have a voice from you heterosexual people. Those are the ones we're talking about, especially since that we lived through the experience of suicidal thoughts, lived through the experience of feeling like we're failing God, letting down God, having the experience of mental trauma, social anxiety, trauma from bullying, getting bullied, which I find so funny that how quote unquote let the kids be kids and all about sexuality, sexual orientation. But the first time I was taught a fag was in school. And I was very much in elementary school. So now that trans people and LGBT folk have a voice and are speaking to their younger peers, now it's a let the kids be kids. Which I find very funny because now you want the kids to be kids because now we have a voice. And is that not like some oppressor type of shit? Get the fuck.
I completely concur. Now, I want to deal with depopulation.
Oh, baby.
So, according to the head scientist in charge on the line with Lil Mama, the government is making people masculine and feminine through chemicals, and say, well, chemicals like Syngenta, and soy. Okay. So the issue with that is femininity and masculinity are principles and states of consciousness that are not mutually exclusive with sexual orientation. See, they keep trying to wangle men being effeminate and then equating that to homosexuality as if they're not soft-spoken, non-violent, completely docile, non-threatening cis hetero men that exist who are very heterosexual. I mean, we could throw out Prince and all of his Purple Rain glory, who loved him some Nanny, but also preferred him a lipstick and some high heels while he did it. So we keep equating mannerisms and these principles to orientation, but there are girls who identify as tomboys who are very clear about being strictly dickly, despite the fact that they love to play basketball, despite the fact that they love to play soccer. So
gym shorts.
Femininity and masculinity are not mutually exclusive with orientation. So even if a male is more on the effeminate side, it does not mean that he's same-sex attracted. But even if he was, what exactly is wrong with that? Because, and I know you got your hand raised. What exactly is wrong with that? Because I got my notes here. Let me see. Stop. Okay. Because being femme as a man or being masculine as a woman has never stopped either one of those individuals from being an activist, community leaders, intellectuals, and productive citizens, especially since LGBTQ folk are largely documented historically to be civil rights activists and community leaders. So exactly what are you saying if a man is feminine or a woman is masculine, as if that makes either one of them incompetent?
That's the undertone.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say, well, it was the undertone. And here's the thing, that the divine masculine feminine thing.
I taught you well.
Like you said, those two energies are not masculines for men and feminities for women only. That's not how that works. Now, there's a spectrum to this. On one side, you have your masculinity. Other side, you have your femininity. And in between, you have androgynous, which is the in-between, baby, which is that bad boy right above me right now. Yeah, androgynous. Now, here's the thing where people tend to get things confused. When us as LGBT, we tell people to get in touch with your feminine. Now, of course, us as LGBT folk, we may be more extreme as in gay men. We may be more extreme with us, with our femininity. Like for instance, like conscious. For the most part.
20% left as an FYI.
Say it again?
I just got 20% left as an FYI.
God damn, already?
I told you this motherfucker be, yeah.
Wait, you can't hook it up? Like, while you're live?
No, because it's like this, and it's not hooked to like a thing, but I might be able to do something, but let's just
okay, I'm saying, did you try it? No, but I was going to say, like, but the thing is that when we tell heterosexual people to men to get in touch with your feminine, we don't mean the hair, nails, and you're going to put you in a dress and a demasculation of the man. No, that also means the character traits as well, which is you being emotional, you being able to communicate, you being able to show love, you being able to talk out your emotions. And when we tell, like you said before, well, it's a whole different other video. When we tell women to get in touch with their masculine, detach from your emotions. So that doesn't mean we want you to be in the hair, nails, demasculize the man, or we're trying to make the woman be the man. No, we telling y'all because it should be a balance. Everybody has a balance. However, how extreme it is may depend on the person. Like for me and you are both gay, but however, me personally, I don't express myself with hair and nails and nail polish and stuff. That's
Instead
just
of
me.
you doing it by being a bottom.
Bitch. But I don't express myself with the hair and nails and stuff. But however, some people do. But then again, at the same time, it also comes to standards that we also hold within the Black community. Because keep in mind too, with white people, they have different types of white people. For the most part, you have the emo, you have the gothic dude, the rock star.
Can you believe that all of those genres inspired like my whole aesthetic?
You see,
like the emo kids, the punk rock, the heavy, like the urban, like all of that shit inspired like everything I got going on aesthetically. But go ahead, I'm listening.
And it also goes to the whole thing what you said that since people think feminine guy means homosexuality, that's not always the case, because we have masculine gay dudes. And also too, back to my point of what the Caucasian people is, that you have emo, you have jocks. But however, no matter how feminine or how masculine the dude is, it doesn't determine their sexuality. So that's all I had to say on that.
Okay, I totally agree. Okay, so let me see, femininity, the chemtrails and shit. Okay, yeah. So I also want them to consider this too. Do you also consider that queer people, including trans persons, still have their own children? Because they was talking about how being gay and being trans is about depopulation, and if a boy like a boy and a girl like a girl, then they can't procreate and blah, blah,
yes.
blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? Queer people still have their own babies.
Children.
Naturally. Like, I got plenty of females who already told me, when you're ready to bust a nut, let me know, because I'll be able to get the dick and also achieve your baby at the same time. I will have no problem with that. Queer people use surrogates, okay? Trans men also oftentimes freeze their eggs, okay? Before they go deep off into hormone treatment, etc., so that if they do want to have their own children, they can. Queer people also adopt.
Take care of the kids that you guys throw away.
So identifying as gay or lesbian and being trans does not have it, like, that has nothing to do with procreating. Queer people have their own fucking children, okay? Also, I never hear any protest and backlash and resistance to all of the heterosexuals who choose not to procreate, whether that's for religious vows like being nuns or priests, which is, you know, a religious vow of abstinence, or whether you just have millennials, cis hetero millennials, who just don't want kids, in having no game, ain't interested in having an extra fucking bill. Okay. Also, people don't have to have fucking kids. Having kids is a fucking choice, and y'all ain't even raising the ones that y'all got. Ain't that's why they being raised by mama? Ain't that why they being raised by grandmama and auntie and uncle and them? Ain't that why your kids calling grandmama and calling you Roxanne? Ain't that's why your children calling you by your first name and calling grandmama? Like, miss me with the bullshit. Okay. Lastly, not even lastly, but before we get to lastly, these chemicals, I find it interesting, like, with all these hotep ass niggas and these hotep ass women, like, they get to conveniently rely upon this weird pseudo idea that there are chemtrails and shit that are feminizing our men and masculinizing our women and turning people trans and shit. But, you know, the chemicals responsible for modern LGBT people is one thing. But how do you explain LGBT people of antiquity? Okay, because there wasn't chemtrails and GMO foods around when Jesus' ass was walking on water. So
the Bible speaks about
how do you explain the LGBT population well documented within every continent, within every culture and society, all across the world, that have been here alongside heterosexuals since the dawn of heterosexuals? So even if you're making the argument that the queer population today, which it is not, is by way of some type of genetic mutation or a chemical alteration, how do you explain the LGBT community prior to a technological culture and a technological society? How do you explain Indians having two-spirited people? How do you explain the Mexicanos having a whole third gender within their culture for people who are on the spectrum? How do you explain the existence of these things that are as old as time? Queer people are not a new invention. And see, this is why I would never, ever trust straight people in these conversations. I would never trust them to have these conversations. I would never trust them to tell the truth. I would never trust them to include all the information. Don't just biasly select your fucking agenda and the information as it fits your narrative. I want to hear these narratives explain away all the things that we just pointed out. Make the whole thing make sense.
Explain it from the beginning.
Stop, because every time they go to talk about this shit, I'm like, wrong.
Jump wrong.
It's just wrong across the mother. And I'm gonna give them this. Sometimes LGBT people themselves don't do no goddamn better. At being properly educated and insightful about LGBT-ness. So the ignorance be on both sides. But last but not least, I wanted to talk about him talking about trans people being mad and detransitioning and being upset at their parents. So here it is, right? There are definitely trans men and trans women who were supported in the earlier formative years of their transgenderism by loving parents who tried to do the best they could for a child who was struggling with their identity at the time. There are trans people who grew up to be older and regretted transitioning and have resentment toward their parents. That is true. But also what you're talking about is a minority within a minority within a minority. Those trans people do not make up the general population of trans people who are perfectly complete and satisfied in their transition, okay? Those who are upset are upset. But those people, they also don't tell the truth either. Because while they can say, I'm mad at my parents, what they're leaving out of the story are either what these straight folk are conveniently leaving out of the story when they go to recount the story. It's the part where the trans people make it a point of how much they stressed their fucking parents out at the time to make this choice. They're not telling you about how they were suicidal because of not being able to assimilate and to identify as the sex they experienced themselves as. They're not talking to you about the fucking depression they felt at the time and how they put their parents back up against the fucking wall. They put their parents back up against the fucking wall at the time. They're not telling you about the stress and the anxiety the parents experience. Because guess what? If I had a trans child, 13 years of age, talking about they want to transition, and I'm watching my child struggle, I'm watching my child be suicidal, I done did everything. I done put you in therapy. I'm trying to give you affirmation and self-love and be a reaffirming, and I'm watching nothing fucking work because all you want is this. You goddamn right. If it means me letting you dress up as the sex you identify with, because it ain't gonna be no surgeries. I can't say that much. And it won't be no damn hormone, nothing until you are 18 in my house. But what we can do is you can present how you want, and then we can do counseling to get your mind. We can do counseling to get your mind right. Okay, until you get 18, and then you can go and take care of all the physical shit. But tell the truth. Stop blaming the parents, because who honestly is willing to let their child die by suicide rather than support them in their now maybe some parents that fucked up, but I damn sure ain't judging the parents who did what they thought was best at the time because they were in fear.
Of their child's life.
For their child's life. If people want to know what trans children go through, the anxiety, the psychological damage they go through because they can't assimilate, because they're living in a body, go watch these documentaries. Go watch the other side of the story. Not just the mad-ass trans people who regret transitioning, but the trans children who needed to fucking transition and valued transition and valued having supportive parents in their transition. But I'm going to let you rock because I'm at the end and my phone is dying.
Oh, gosh. Wait, what percent are you on?
It's at 10%, which means we probably got about 5 more minutes left.
Oh, gosh. You should get on my live. Now, I was going to say, here's the thing I would like to say when this whole thing of,
and I don't want to completely because I want to be able to save it, or is it going to save automatically, even if it dies?
You have to save it. It's going to once it ends, it's going to say save to IGTV, or you're going to say delete video.
So we're going to have to actually end it before it dies so I can actually save it, and this wasn't a pointless ass live.
Okay, gotcha. But here's the thing that I find so, and this also goes to what I was saying earlier, where people try to diminish the experience of trans people. People just think trans people just wake up one day, I want to be trans, and the child or the parents is, okay, just come on, let's do it. No, it's not like that. It's like this. Your child may say, I want to be a boy, I may want to be a girl. The first time you may be like, oh, you know, X, Y, and Z, you kind of brush it off. But however, if your child starts saying the same thing for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, that is when you have to be able to take into account that, okay, this may not just be quote unquote a phase as people try to say and try to make it be like, oh, I just want to be transgender. No, that is not. You're diminishing and dismissing the experience of trans people. And like you said before, the experience, the trauma, the social anxiety, the high disrespect, the dehumanization of trans people, the lack of rights of trans people inside the LGBT, outside the LGBT, especially if you're of color. So people don't realize the dismissiveness, how they're so quick to just jump the gun. Oh, no, you're not going to be trans because now the kids. Excuse my language, but fuck them kids right now. Let's talk about the experience of trans people. We're not talking about the kids that just talk about, oh, I want to be a boy, but they don't have the full understanding or they can't articulate fully what they mean. But however, we're talking about trans individuals. So that's all I wanted to say on it. Oh, and last thing, because I want to make sure this ends. How much time do I have?
It's not telling me.
Okay.
I'm just having to assume.
Okay, last thing I want to say. Because here's the thing that kills with people and their facts. Because there's a difference between facts and the truth. Facts are more like your statistics. Your statistics to support your stance. But the truth is more like the experience. So your facts may catch certain data, X, Y, and Z. But however, the truth is the experience, which may not always be captured in the facts. So your facts may be like, oh, trans people, they're more likely to kill themselves. The higher percentage, they have the largest percentage of suicides. That's the fact, quote unquote. But the truth is they're less than 1%. So which means it takes less people for that percentage to go up compared to a bigger group.
Yeah.
So people have to take into account of what's fact, statistics to support, quote unquote, your stance and what the truth is. Because the truth, if you actually break it down, you don't have to support it too much because it's just going to click. So that's the last thing I want to say.
Okay, I completely agree with that. I want to say that straight people, y'all are full of shit. Y'all use the kids as a buzzword because y'all know that inserting kids into any conversation is going to be triggering for most adults, okay? But we know that y'all full of shit because y'all don't care nothing about the kids when you got a little Sabrina in the backseat listening to goddamn WAP and Cardi B talking about draining a nigga pussy or his head or his face or whatever the hell may be, and y'all don't give a shit about 7-year-old Derek in the backseat when you got 2 Chainz on there talking about fucking every bitch in the club. So I don't want to hear shit about the goddamn kids. I don't want to hear nothing about the motherfucking kids. Y'all do everything in front of the goddamn kids. You smoke joints and weed in front of the goddamn kids, okay? You have sex in the next room while you know they can hear your ass through the walls. When the kids in the motherfucking house, you let anybody goddamn babysit them. You got the ghettoest, most bonnet wearing bitch in the goddamn community. Your motherfucking kids talking about the motherfucking kids when it comes to the LGBT shit. Miss me with the goddamn kid conversation. Miss me with the shits. Miss me with the kid conversation. And on that note, can we reconvene? Okay. That completes this motherfucking dialogue. If there needs to be a part 2, bitch, there will be a goddamn part 2.
Part 2. Alrighty.
Alright. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bitch. What?